What is good, rookies? Just wanted to start this video by giving a shout out to DR. You might have seen, a few of you might be new here, that he did a nice little shout out on X. So I just want to give a big appreciation to DR for just showing the love. For all the subscribers that have come over, we're now at 166, getting close to that 200 mark now. So thank you guys so much for getting us over 150. That has been amazing. And thanks for those that have also joined the Rookie Coach Open League as well and given us a follow on X. So appreciate all the love and support, guys. Plenty of exciting things to come over the next week. Some cool announcements and things in the works. So all we're going to really do in this video is go through the first two games of the AAMI series. So that is Geelong versus Essendon, and then we've got Richmond versus Collingwood. Now, just got a little funny graph that I've gone through. We're just going to talk about more Supercoach relevant players. Overall, Essendon and Geelong was a great competitive game. They got away from Geelong. Richmond and Collingwood, not so much. I think we definitely had more to take away from the Geelong and Essendon game than we did the Richmond and Collingwood in regards to like Supercoach relevancy. But we'll get into that. So we're going to go through Geelong versus Essendon. Now, I do have the stats here as well that we can look towards in regards for Geelong players, but I've also just kind of summarized them here. Again, deep analysis, we will do at some points, but I recommend going into like DFS, for example, or Footy Info or the Footy app. Those are the places where you get, DE, disposal efficiency, how many disposals they had, so on and so forth. So the outstanding Supercoach relevant players from Geelong, we had T. Stewart, who went to 95. This is probably what we're expecting of Stewart. Now, his role from watching the game seems to be kind of a swap with Holmes, where they're kind of rotating between like the halfback and the mid roles. Not bad from a Stewart perspective. We saw Stewart in the last few games of the season last year being able to perform quite well in this role and push Holmes down to halfback. Holmes, I think we don't really read too much into this for this game. Only got a 51. But again, we kind of know what he can do. He seems to be in really good form. Had a healthy preseason. So we'll kind of see how we go there. But there is obviously some injury concerns around Holmes and his hamstrings and all that sort of stuff. But so far, so good. So far, there's no real concern. Only thing to consider with picking any players from Geelong is that round 3 bye. So Stewart did well. Did pretty much what we expected to see. Is he still a viable option? I think if you like him and you want to see him play and it's a bit of more of a fun pick, by all means. I think at the price, though, there's probably more value to be had if you just go down to someone like Perryman or even Short now. I think we look for value instead of those potential 95s where we could get those from our value players as well. We had Nevitt. Now, Nevitt was interesting because we obviously are looking for rookies to lock in. There's been a lot of carnage that's happened. So we're just trying to really lock in some rookies that are either going to give us good cash gen or strong points on field. The disappointing fact of this game is SDK. We saw him lined up in the ruck. We thought we were going to see a solo ruck. Now, he got absolutely closed off by Essendon between Bryan and Draper, which we know historically the Essendon are like the ruck killers. They just, it's really hard to score on Essendon rucks because they just run two. They run two and they just demolish it. So wasn't expecting high scores. This was definitely kind of expected from SDK score-wise. However, it's the role that we weren't happy with. There were comments before the game from Chris Scott saying that they're not really sure what they're going to do with SDK and Mark Pliskars as well. There's comments after the game about potentially bringing in Stanley for like the tougher ruckmans like Gawn, just to chop him out. All signs point to not a really too risky of a move. If I'm going to pick him, I'm not going to. If you like your risk, go for it though. Why not? What do you got to lose? Besides everything. But yeah, so back to Nevitt though. I definitely think he played well enough to be at least a bench option for us. He may be a sub-risk potentially. Obviously no Smith, so that is a consideration of something that could tap into Nevitt's CBA time and mid-appearance. Dangerfield played down forward a bit more. So I feel quite confident with Nevitt being locked in as a rookie. we're going to see a lot more around in the opening round as well. But for the moment, I think Nevitt's a pretty safe pick for a rookie in the mids. Holmes, again, we're not going to really talk about. He's a primo. He's probably going to be in firing form. And we get to look at that in opening round. O'Sullivan's probably the disappointing one. Now, word is that he did play at least a half of VFL footy before this. So there is the chance that he still is somewhat in that best 22-23. Just got rested. So definitely just one to watch for opening round to see if he does get the time on ground that we want from him, because we are desperate for defensive rookies. Into Essendon, Nick Martin. Oof, good man. Now, he was kind of all over the place. Played half forward, high half forward, kicking goals, just doing all these things that we kind of knew Nick Martin could do. It's just whether that role is really friendly for a defensive kick, essentially. So, look, I am probably not going there, but he's definitely a bit of a pod. Definitely a bit of a pod. Kako, I think a lot of people probably moved him in to the team after his performance. He's explosive, the energy that he has. He's got really good speed to getting the ball off the ground and just picking up those misses, those drop marks, and just getting around the pack to pick up the scraps, really. He obviously has the goal kicking ability. He wants to get after it. He's making an impact. Will he go and kick 4 or 5 goals every game? Probably not. And so, not to diminish the wins of Kako, from a Supercoach perspective, yeah, I think if you take him, be well aware that you're probably going to get some 50s, because it's not every week he's going to be able to do what he did in this practice match with Geelong. But I still think if you're looking for rookies to either put in the flex in case they get a higher score, Kako could be one of them. Or if you're just not confident on any other rookies, Kako might be just a decent choice, and just hope he starts off really well to get those price rises, and then either trade him down and use him to trade up. Sardis. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, he's got the Parish role. You know, there was a few moving moments in regards to like Magnus on the keyboard with people being out. I think Sardis is a lock. That mid-time, he's just really good with the ball. He looked like he has the IQ there to make the right decisions. Sometimes, again, these rookies, they're going to have moments where they mess up, but it's what they do afterwards, how they recoup, how they run through with that. Sardis just ticks all the boxes, really. For me, at least, he's a lock in them in, and I think you'd be silly not to have him on field. You are paying up for him about 190k, but I think you just have to lock him in. I'm not going to talk too much on Sardis because we're all kind of there. The really exciting ones was Reed got involved quite a lot. I definitely think is a shoe-in for best 22. Just the intercepting, the tall reaches of Reed to be able to be a problem in that back line for Essendon is just really, really handy. So I think Reed has the potential to not be the slow burn that we thought he would be. Again, we've only really seen one full match from him. I still think that there's a possibility that it slows down and isn't going to be 70s to 80s each week. But I think he's definitely got that job security there where we can, put him into our D7 or D8 pretty comfortably. And if we see something even better from opening round, put him in as D6. One that we are looking at as well, because we are so short on defensive rookies, is Pryor. Now, you're paying up for him about 160k, and it's another bomber defender. So on that buy, if they're both your D6 and D7 or D7, D8, you're not going to have any cover. So it's a bit hard to recommend having 2. But if you're desperate and you don't have faith in anyone else, just make sure you've got people in flex and cover, because it is only best 18. So it's not horrible to lose 2 rookie scores out of the total, but just make sure you can cover it. That's really it overall. I think for the Geelong Edison was a really good game. And then we got to see most of what we wanted to see, or not that we wanted to see, but stuff we needed to see to confirm either our picks, the roles, all that sort of stuff. So some really good things to take away from that. Richmond and Collingwood, I don't really see as being too relevant because of the blowout. Tigers are just a young team, all young rookies going on. Now, we did not get to see Smith. Smith was emergency not named, which is really disappointing. Trainer got, 34% time on ground, I think, or roundabouts that. Did a lot with the time he had to get 39. But he just didn't get the ability to really showcase himself. Within the time he did, though, he did very, very well. And I think we're all kind of calling for him to make the cut for best 22. There's just a lot of rookies fighting for that spot, so it's a bit tricky at the moment. They might give, Callum Smith a run next week at not opening round. Sorry, they might give him a run in round 1 and see how we go. So we'll see. We'll see. But if we can be confident that trainer has more time on ground, I think there's a lot of potential to be a really good pick and potentially on-field points, so long as he gets that time. Jay Short. Everyone is kind of disgusted that they might be picking him again after being burnt. I didn't have him last season because I just heard of all the burn stories. But it's kind of hard not to put him in the team. We're looking for value. I think this year it itself has just too much value to ignore, and to like balance out the lines as well where we're lacking for rookies. I think we need to lean in slightly away from guns and rookies and looking to bring in some value. And Jaden Short he ticks all the boxes of that. Now we've all, not me personally, but there has been a burnt situation in preseason before where he came out guns blazing in preseason and then it didn't average above 90 or anything or something like that before. So that, hey, we could be getting trapped again, but let's start the risk. If it doesn't end up working out and you haven't got like Perryman, or we come back and Mills is good, you can trade him down to Mills, for example. There's movements available. Just be prepared to do that, because if there's any data to represent anything, we're going to get burnt badly. But he's in my team currently. It's just, yeah, you can't ignore it. Nank the Tank. I have had Nank in and out of my team all preseason, only because I'm not too sure about the rucks and where the rucks will fall. We have Sherry, and we're pretty confident that he's going to finish quite well and be in the top 3 rucks. The thing that scares me from Sherry is just the fixture, the starting fixture. After his bye, it's easy run, and I think the plan is that potentially to move Nank to Sherry after that bye, and just kind of bank in some solid performances from Nank. He got a 131, which was amazing. He's their man. He may not have like the best hit out percentages, but he does enough outside of that to give us scores like 131 and reliable scores as well. He is pretty consistent. With the young team of Richmond, they're going to be looking to him a lot to help just facilitate the ball. So I think for Nank, hot option. He's in my team. Don't pick him. I want him to be a pod still. But I think after this performance, it's hard to not notice the option in Nank as an R1, R2. Jumping into Collingwood, Nick Dacos. I don't need to say anything. It's Nick Dacos. Like, man's good at footy. 150, 153, massive numbers. Clearly come back from the foot concerns that we had with no issues, and it's just good to go. Again, the only issue being is that bye. So I am leaning away from starting him purely because of the bye, and it'll be the first person I look to bring into the team. The man that I have essentially locked in for a few weeks now is Perryman. The role looks good. Yes, there are concerns that he might be like a defensive mid who is going to look to apply defensive pressure. He got like 10 tackles on Richmond, but this is where for Collingwood it's hard to judge, because some might say they were playing against traffic cones. It's hard. I don't expect Perryman to get 10 tackles a game or 5 tackles in the first quarter or anything like that, but it does show the possibilities of what Perryman can achieve. And getting a 122, I think, is well over what he's going to average. If we can get him in the 90s to early hundreds, I think we'll be pretty happy. So Perryman's a lock for me. He's the only Collingwood player I've got at the moment, just because I don't want to be outbalanced with those bye rounds. So if you're looking for a replacement for Mills, look at Perryman. I just realized you can't see them. So let me just zoom in here actually and scoot over. So then we got Houston at 105. Now, Houston is not getting kick-ins. This is kind of tricky because we're now relying on other factors of the game, or hoping that he does eventually get kick-ins. I think he's still going to be a really good defensive pick, really consistent pick, most likely. Again, I don't think we can really pick him given the bye with the role that we've seen, because he's still finding his way with that team, how they play, the pace of the game, how aggressive they can be. But they clearly want him all around the ball, moving up, kicking goals. Like, there's a lot of things happening for Houston in that squad, which is really promising. But for me personally, I want to see more of what that role looks like consistently. So if it's not kick-ins, we have to kind of factor that in. Now, I will zoom in a little bit more just so I can get into Cameron's score, which is 84. Now, I only mentioned Cameron here because I did kind of look at him as a potential R2. I still think he's a option you could trade down to if, you know, Gorn didn't look hot, or if Jerry wasn't looking good, if you needed a buyout of De Koning if Pitnet comes back. There's options. You got your Meeks as well. Cameron's not too bad. I think I'm put off the pick. I think I'm, you know, pretty happy with my R1 and R2 at the moment. One of them given his Nake. And then just see how it plays out. He could become, he had a really, really strong finish last season, so he could, you know, receive that back. He kicked a goal as well. Like, he's very versatile as a ruckman. Same as Nake. So, yeah, take that from what you will. I know not a lot of people aren't looking at Cameron, but worth noting. Allen as well, got a 30. Again, played limited time. One of these things with these rookies, with like Trainer and Allen, is we're not seeing enough to be confident in the pick. We're not seeing enough priority as a role to get more time on ground. I think the ability for scoring is definitely there with Allen, just as it is with Trainer. But whether they actually get the ability and time on ground to show us that and give us our 70s to 80s that we're looking for with our rookie picks, it's, yeah, I'm not really confident in picking him as a rookie. Anyway, so that's really the quick recap of game 1 and 2. At the moment, as I'm recording, Hawks are versus Western Bulldogs. I'm watching Will Day. I'm watching Sanders. I'm watching English. I am watching Sicily. I am watching Davidson. All the fine people. And we don't need to watch Bond. Bond is Bond. But there has been a comment that he's been looked at on the sidelines early in the first. So hopefully not foreshadowing too much, because I'm trying to work him into my team. Anyway, guys, again, if you made it this far, give the video a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the noti bell. Again, exciting announcements to come over the next week and so. So keep up on X for all the major announcements in real time. And with that said, guys, the opening round is upon us. So hopefully we can get our team sorted and locked in and feeling confident before heading into round 1. Plenty of videos to come. See you guys later.